Yeah, good morning. We're getting a little feedback through the phone calling line. Perhaps you'd like to mute your phone for us. All right, thank you. It's 9 a.m. I'll call the November 18th meeting of the Board of Supervisors to order and welcome our newest supervisor, Boyd Campbell, to the job. Thank you, Boyd. First item on the agenda is approving the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that. We have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer and seconded by
Campbell. Get to Campbell.
I know. Those in favor of the motion to approve the agenda, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Item 2 is public comment. Is anyone who'd like to make a public comment? Anyone listening on the phone line? Hearing none, we'll move to item 3, which is review action regarding approval of the November 13th board meeting and the canvas minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the November 13, 2024 board meeting and canvas minutes.
I'll second the motion. The move by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Keelan, to approve the minutes of the board meeting on November 13th and the canvas of the general election. Further discussion? None. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 4, review and action regarding approval of the claims. Going to
I didn't see anything that jumped out at me. I did see that the sheriff had another outfit for one of the cars for the dog, a canine or something. I think it was about $12,000 or something.
I got one question. What is that? When you go through, I see tuition.
Well, that was probably for early childhood.
Yes.
Yes, we're part of a 3-county group, and we fund. Probably that was, I can see the specific one, but we pay for tuition for students to go to preschool classes.
It's Floyd Mtg, Early Childhood Iowa, and we're the fiscal agent for it. So it's not tax dollars, property tax dollars that are funding it. It's grant money through the state.
Okay. It's in 3 counties, so sometimes it looks like we're paying for something in another county. Well, actually, we are. Like other parts that we're the fiscal agent for the 3 county areas. Okay. Let's see, we have a motion, second to approve the claim.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
I'll second. All right, I have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer and seconded by Campbell to approve the claims. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's carried. Updates on various boards and commissions and activities since the last meeting.
I didn't have any last week.
Yeah, I attended a meeting at NIAC. There was a couple of supervisors there. It was actually a drought meeting. Best we changed our thoughts on those things, but we still are at pretty crowded. Yeah, we've got a long way to go, but they were talking about how we're going to work together on that, and it was pretty informative. But that's the only meeting I had. Item 6, review action regarding insurance coverage on historical building. We have Mark Melrose here with us. Mark, good morning. This courthouse, right?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I want to update you kind of on the email progression real quickly that EMC sent to me initially, and then that I copied you guys on. The first one came from EMC stating that due to the historical nature of courthouses or municipality buildings, they went to 10 different counties and said, we need you to come up with a third-party appraisal at your expense. And as you know, they backed off that. At think what they found out, reading between the lines, they haven't said it directly, but I kind of getting this from the underwriter. The timing element, it might be very difficult for these counties to get the appraisal done and the cost too. So they went back to the drawing board and they looked at historical buildings that were up to date in terms of cost per square foot to rebuild or restore. So they went through that and they came back and said, we'd like to have these buildings at $600 per square foot. So I mentioned to them, we've got a hybrid building here. We've got brand new and old, and they calculated that, and I'll get to that in a second. The other thing that I noticed when she initially sent over some figures to me is that she used, if you look on the second page of what I gave you, she used this is the appraisal that EMC had done back in 2023. And if you'll notice, that first highlighted area under the courthouse, you've got about roughly 71,000 square feet. And they have it at $526 a square foot. So if you move down to miscellaneous equipment, they have to add that in. So they've got 37.8 million at the top, and then they add in the 1.5 to come up with the total cost to rebuild at the very bottom at 39.2 million. The thing that is the underwriter was missing is she's using this. So when this came out in 2023, it was 39. Then the policy renewed last year, and you have a thing called inflation guard. So it brought the building to 42 million roughly. So I said, wait a minute, I think we're using the wrong figure. We don't increase from 37 million, we're increasing from 42. So we got that straightened out. If you go back to that first page.
Thank you. Thank you for noticing that.
Yeah. So the 71,000 square feet and 600 square foot, if you look at the calculations that I have here, we're already at 42,940, 42.9, going down to the next one. We add in the miscellaneous equipment. So the replacement cost is 44.4 million. And this is the amount that we need to increase it from. So you'll notice we're not too far off. We're at 42,940 and we got to go to 44.4. So doing the calculations on that and the cost per square foot on the property rate, you'll see that it'll increase your premium in 25 when they raise that. Instead of, was 5,500, I think, it'll increase it to $2,800 roughly instead of the 5,500. So they're happy with that figure at 600 square feet. There's a second thing that came up in my mind. I questioned EMC. I said, why are they looking at this as a historic building in terms of architecturally unique? It's a big box. Other than the marble entryway, there's really nothing like Dallas County or Clinton County. If you think of these town squares with these very ornate, that's what I'm thinking. And she came back and said, it's on the National Historical Registry, this building is. So if you have to do any refurbishment or rebuilding, they require that you follow certain guidelines. You can't, for instance, the marble entryway, I don't know how that would get damaged, but if the marble entryway got damaged and you had to rebuild.
In actuality, a piece of it just fell off.
Pardon?
In actuality, it was a big chunk of it
Really?
just fell off.
Really? How big of a chunk?
Well, one of the pillars out on the sidewalk.
So one of the things she brought up was pillars on courthouses. She said you can't put you can't use modern materials to replace those pillars per National Historic Registry. You have to bring it back to the original material. So that's why she said we're using the Floyd County Courthouse considered under this particular action. So.
I would just mention that we have, there's been several things that have been done to this courthouse prior to my time, since it's been on the registry, that have not followed the requirements for doing it the historical way. So I think that maybe should have some weight in this as well, that.
Is it
Yeah,
still,
tuck pointing and.
sure,
Taken out the safe doors, the ceilings, I don't know when the ceilings were ever lowered. I don't, Mark, I guess maybe when you were supervisor here the first time, maybe,
Where,
all over, the ceilings have been lowered. First, second, third floor, they never were put back to their historical, what it was in 1940.
do you know if, is this still considered National Historic Registry?
It's still on the register.
When you made changes, did you have to notify them or look at their requirements?
They gave us recommendations.
Okay,
To follow. But
So-
the choice was not to follow those recommendations.
I can certainly go back on that, but I kind of pushed on this because to me, it's not a very ornate courthouse compared to some of these other ones that I know that they're asking to increase.
But it's got them, lots of marble, all the floors have marble, terrazzo floors. I don't even know if we've replaced all the windows, they're not historic. Don't have that historic look to them.
Sure. So her guideline said is if it's on the National Historic Registry, we have to increase it. So they don't know these details, obviously. They're just going based on these buildings being on the registry. The only thing I would recommend is we're not too far off here. We're only $2,800.
Like a 10% increase though.
The thing that bothers me, or not bothers me, the thing that scares me is the inflated cost of building materials and labor nowadays to rebuild or repair. So I don't know if, I guess I side on this, I go to the side of caution on this and think, I don't know, is $600 a square foot enough to rebuild this complex if it goes?
You'd
The
probably
chan-
never build it.
Pardon?
You'd probably never build it to the same
True, yeah.
detail.
Yeah. So,
Longer building than any building that
right,
would as well.
Mark, is our payment going from 5,500 to 8,300?
pardon?
The premium for this is going up to $2,800.
So, yeah, what they'll do is, according to EMC, they need to get it up to 600 square feet. To do that, they'll do it effective the renewal in 2025. So this building would go up roughly, gotta get my glasses on here, $2,800.
So the total premium would be about 8,300 to 5,500 plus the 28 increase?
No, the 5,500 is not a part of it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the 5,500 was, before I corrected them on the amount that it's currently insured for. They went back a year to their appraisal and then worked from there. And I said, we're already at 42 million. So we only have to cover that gap of 2,800.
And that is just this part of the building.
It-
That's
it's-
not the rest.
No, it's everything. So they take the 71,000 square feet, anything that's attached to a building is considered one building. So that was the
But
first,
that has no historical value.
pardon?
That has no historical.
No.
value.
And that's why I questioned them initially. I said, why are we going up 600 square foot to accommodate an historical building if we've got half the building brand new? And she says, we're not. We went back and said, we feel comfortable after looking at the appraisals, and their loss control team looked at it and said, we're okay at $600 a square foot. So somewhere in there, they're calculating that unlike a Dallas County building that might go up to $650 or $700 a square foot, they're only doing 600 here. Good question.
And what was that addition when we put it on? What was the square foot of that at the increase of insurance that we paid at that time?
I don't know. Yeah. I can find out.
You have a question, Bush?
Oh, I did. It was answered.
Sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately, they cannot separate these two buildings. It's one building to them now, from a law standpoint. Anytime something's attached to a building, it becomes part of that building. So the unfortunate part about these cost estimators, it's not rocket science. It's not saying that $600 a square foot is accurate either. I hate to say this, but with insurance, we've got cost estimators. Everybody's got a different cost estimator, it seems, in the industry. How do you repair or replace these buildings? We did one on the Charles Theater years ago. Think about that one. I mean, how do you repair or replace that? And it was a crazy couple of weeks for me to figure out how do you value the Charles Theater. So EMC is just coming up with, after what I feel is blowback, to say, look, let's come to a compromise here. We're okay at the 600. The other thing I do want to bring up though, and I mentioned that, I think, is that you also have a blanket policy that covers all property. For instance, if this place were to go, a blanket normally covers any shortfall. Think of it this way: you got 20 buildings, you put all the values in, you have one lump sum. If one of those buildings goes down and it was underinsured, the blanket picks up any shortfall you might have had on that one building. A few years ago, and I did copy you on this in the emails, after that loss that I mentioned in the email as well on a historical building, they pulled back on all these buildings and said, wait a minute, we're not going to blanket coverage the courthouse. We're going to only give them 30% cushion over the top. So if you have a total loss, you're going to get an additional 30%. So instead of the building will be insured for $44.4 million in 2025, but you actually have $57.8 million worth of coverage. So I should backtrack a little bit here. The $600 a square foot is one thing, but you also have a cushion on this. Any other building in the county, this is the only one that they've added that endorsement to. Any other building in the county, Fossil Center, let's say it goes down and we're underinsured for some reason, the blanket picks up any excess. So we're still okay on that.
For historic things, does it have anything to do with the at Fossil and Prairie Center, the brick and tile, those what do they call those?
The kilns,
The kilns, yeah, those buildings.
they're not covered. Yeah, that's an individual structure that would have to be covered. I've never been down to the kilns actually, so I don't even know what kind of shape they're in. Are they in good shape?
They've done repair work on them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the kilns have never been a part of your policy. Were they, I don't believe so, no. There's a lot of, they've never been a part of it, yeah. Because I walked that, I don't know if you recall, I walked the entire county and looked at every single building and took photos. Kilns were never part of it. Is that something you feel you need coverage on?
They're not used as kilns, but they do tours and they do.
People go in them.
You can walk in them? Yeah. They're all brick construction?
Yeah, I think so. Stone or brick, or they had fires inside them. That's where they
That's
could.
right.
Are they tuck pointed or updated or restored, or what condition are they in? I don't know if you tuck point a
It's been so
kiln.
long since I've been there.
Industrial. My main concern on those, we are covered in liability though, right?
Yes, you are. Yeah, liability's covered.
I mean, I don't think the kills are gonna burn.
I just didn't know if there was any
You know.
historic, since they're on the registry as well, if there was anything,
Oh, I see. No, yeah.
right? Aren't they on the registry?
So,
Is that something I should go take a look at though, or are you concerned about the kilns or?
It's a call to Adam,
Or
a call to Adam Sears.
okay,
Not that I want to add more cost to the insurance, I was just curious because
Sure.
I'm pretty sure they're on the National Historic Registry, but they are a different, it's not like they are functioning on a day-to-day business like
Right.
that, and I don't know if they were destroyed, I don't know what you would,
do you want me to call Adam, or are you gonna call Adam?
either way.
I can call Adam.
Okay.
And I can certainly go out there and take a look at it, get photos, and run it by EMC to see. Sometimes they'll look at structures like this and they won't insure them, depending on the condition. So we'll take a look at it. Yeah, sure.
Is there anything we need to do today on this courthouse?
There's not.
Okay, we're gonna
If you're okay with the current value, then come 2025, they'll increase it to 44.4 million, just a little bit, and they'll go ahead and renew it that way, so.
Choice, do we?
Pardon?
We don't have much choice.
No, they don't.
I think what you're saying the choice is 600 per square foot adopted.
Correct. And you certainly can go out and get an appraisal. I don't know, did you call that company? I said a link. I think it was $8,000 to $10,000 for appraisals, just to come in and have somebody professionally appraise it, so. But if you're concerned about that, certainly can go that route.
I think
Okay,
I'm okay with
thank
All
you.
right, that does not require action then, so we'll just discuss. Item 7, review action regarding the Butler County Rural Electric Cooperative easement for the communications tower site. So as I read this, they have some lines running underneath that property. Is that correct? Jason?
Yeah, so I got contacted last week by the representative from Butler County REC, and I assume this has to do with going from the right of way under our property to the new tower site. Standard for any time they install on private property.
There's 2 different power companies right out there. The Butler County REC. They provide the power, I believe, to the Fossil First Center. I know we had to get when we built the good turbine out there, we had to get actually it was anyway, we got an agreement with them that we see that power, that it was a net metering, if I'm trying to remember, where the power that was produced by that went back on the Butler County line at the same rate that we were being charged. They didn't want to do that. But realistically, it's just like the amount of electricity we generate there. But so there's 2 power companies. The other one is that provides, because there's 2 whole different services out there. On the other side of that property is the line, yeah. Anyway, so this is just for what goes underneath that little strip of land there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That we purchased.
Standard stuff.
one of the 2.
All right, everybody understand what that, had a chance to read through that?
I think, have they started this already,
Yeah.
Jason? Because I think there were some issues in that, make sure they get it going before there's any freezing.
I'll make a motion to approve the Butler County Rural Electric easement for the communications tower site.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer and seconded by Campbell to approve the easement for the communication tower site for Butler County Rural Electric Cooperative. Further discussion? Any comment from anyone listening on the phone? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 8, discussion regarding providing radios and pagers to AMR ambulance. Deputy Bart's here. Thank you. Let's see, what's in our packet about that?
That's a separate attachment because there
Right.
were so many pieces to it.
Yeah, there was. We have the agreement that we currently have with AMR and the 3-year agreement.
So you have,
And, let's see.
you have 3 quotes, 4 mountable radios, I believe, 8 portable radios, and 15 pagers. Is that right?
Correct.
For AMR. And I don't know if anyone from AMR is on the phone.
Yes, ma'am. Eric McCleary, operations manager for AMR.
All right, thank you, Eric, for being with us today. Deputy March, you wanna run through these three quotes? Are you familiar with them?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Have you seen these, Eric? These quotes we're talking about?
No, I have not.
Okay,
Eric, I could email them to you right now if that would.
That's fine. It's Eric, ERIC, dot McCleary, MCCLEERY, at GMR.net.
yeah, go ahead and feel free to kind of give us a little background as well, if you like.
Okay, so, originally, when we started this project, we incorporated all the communities, all the agencies into this radio project. AMR ambulance, was originally, I guess we had 4 mobile radios for the ambulances in that. After some discussion, it was determined that we would not be providing AMR as a private entity radios through this bond. Fast forward to today, AMR is a private ambulance service. We have radios for all the fire departments, all the firemen, law enforcement. We need to have AMR, or we need to have an ambulance service that has radios to communicate with our new system. So there's been discussion back and forth of who is going to be responsible for providing those radios. AMR is, like I said, a private entity. So going back and forth, from the county standpoint, I just went ahead and got quotes to see what it would cost for mobile radios. I've been in conversation with Dawn Stout, the AMR ambulance director here. She had stated 4 mobiles, which would be 4 radios for the ambulances, 8 portable radios for the ambulance personnel, and 15 pagers. The pagers come from the same company in Minnesota, Comtech. I believe that quote was around, I can't remember, 9,000, I don't know. $10,500 for the pagers, and then for 4 mobile radios for the ambulances is just over $12,141, and then the 8 portables were $19,933. So I think, if I remember correctly, that's just over $42,000 to have, if the county was to purchase that, or even if AMR was to purchase it. Certainly, there's been discussion about who can get radios and who cannot. Floyd County controls the system. Any entity can buy their own radios from their own vendor. We would prefer that there be some discussion about which vendor they are buying radios from to ensure that the quality of that service and the quality of those radios are to the level that we would like on our system. They can certainly go with a different provider. We would, as Floyd County, dictate what talk groups they are available, and how much access to our system we have. So we control the system. If AMR would buy their radios, or any other private entity, they would choose which radios they want and so forth. There is no difference in price between Motorola, between the county buying it and a private entity buying them. Those are state bids, so those prices are set in stone regardless of who's purchasing those. We are getting ready to go live on this system. Rockford Tower is currently well under construction with the hopes of maybe January being online for that. We need to have some serious discussions about making sure that we have communication and that the ambulance service has communication with our system. That's kind of where we're at today, to have discussion about how to get to that end game.
That's a good background, thank you. Yes, great, yes.
So we have no communications with the ambulances now? There's none?
Currently, we do, yes. Our old system is the VHF system, so
Okay.
when AMR came to Floyd County, they would have had to buy radios and they would have had to program those radios to be on this system. Now that we're switching from VHF to a digital statewide system, that involves all new radios, all new frequencies, channels, and so forth. So everybody that is first responder needs to be on that system, needs to have communication.
So the argument would be AMR saying, well, you switched, so our old system isn't functional anymore, so we need to go on that. And is that their rationale that we pay instead of them, the private, I mean, that's the deal?
I think one could assume that. In order to keep a VHF system, to have them is quite a bit of money for the county, when that would be the only reason to keep a VHF would be for that system. We have not changed radio frequencies. We have not changed radios in 30+ years. So to update after this time is not an unreasonable request.
Seems to me that last spring or early summer, supervisors voted not to provide AMR with radio equipment.
I'm not aware of any vote on
I could be mistaken. That's just from memory. So.
search the minutes, but I'm not.
You know, that's okay. So just going from memory.
You voted on there might have been some discussion when you voted on the agreements that.
The user
To
agreement.
the user agreements.
Originally, when this started, we had a list of all the agencies and which radios, how many radios go to each department.
Yeah.
AMR was originally in that. There was discussion back and forth about, again, supplying radios for a private entity. Where does that end? Do we provide to record services, to other private individuals? Where's the limit gonna be on that? So at that time, it was discussed, okay, we're not gonna provide AMR, those radios they removed. And then that all went into, okay, how many radios do we actually need? And we submitted for the
Yeah, that was 117 or something, or what was that number?
I
That
remember. But at that time, it was only 4 mobile radios. Now we're at 4 mobiles, 15 pagers, 8 portables. Portables and pagers were not even in the original bond. Well, I would note one thing. I think I don't know if I forward that information, but this is not the first time this has happened in Iowa, or perhaps even the United States. I believe Don indicated that some other counties AMR has bought some of their own radios and or pagers from those counties as well. So this is not a unique thing, just in Floyd County.
With the user agreement, Floyd County still owns the radios, right?
If we were to do the user, if Floyd County was to purchase those radios, then they would sign a user agreement that Floyd County owns those radios. AMR would be responsible for the upkeep, the maintenance, damage, and so forth. If AMR would disband or whatever happens, those radios would come back into our possession. If AMR would buy their own radios, then they would own them. They would simply sign the MOU, which is allowing them to use our frequencies. But they would own their equipment and control their equipment and have them programmed at their will. That pretty much.
Reference 117, Gloria, is that? I'm thinking, right, if there was 117 portable radios ordered for the program.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's radios or pagers or.
That was just portable radios.
That was portable radios. Which didn't include AMR.
Which did not include, like I said, the original only included, I think, 4 radios for the ambulances as well.
So Eric, you're up on the phone. Is there any comments you have about the cost of these radios and It's our agenda. Obviously, we need you on our system. That's a given. We're just talking about who's gonna pay for it.
Right. It's, you know, I mean, it's kind of an expense that's not planned. We just re-signed a contract that was not mentioned in the contract anywhere. Every year I hear from you folks on, are we gonna start our own service? I don't have a desire to spend $40,000+ on radios and then in a year you say, oh, we're starting our own service, see you later, AMR. And now I got $40,000 worth of radios to do something with. I think this agreement that I was sent explains it well, where the county or owns them. Of course, we would, if we damaged one, we would pay to repair it or replace it, whatever was needed. But I think that the tower agreement with the communications is a good agreement to go off of.
Well, I'm reading our agreement that we have that, you know, goes for 3 years. And it does talk in section 2 about that, about equipment, facilities, equipment and operation. And it says AMR will upgrade and replace ambulances, defibrillators, and other assets on a reasonable basis at its expense as it deems necessary. AMR will be responsible for all capital and equipment purchases, with such purchase to be made in its reasonable discretion. And then it has another couple sentences in there about if they're damaged or who replaced them, things like that. I kind of think that covers the radio.
I don't. Our radios are working. It's whoever decided to make the change. You know, the contract ain't that old. That should have been put in the language of the contract when it was signed.
Yeah, you know, I don't know how long you've been with AMR, Eric, but I remember I was on the board when we did this back in 1995, and I don't think we've ever upgraded radios, have we, Travis?
No.
I mean, this is the first time we ever have done it, and so it's like, seems like one of those expenses that doesn't come along very often. Just, you know, we didn't want to pay $5 million for it either, but it seems like maybe if you want to be on our system, maybe we could work something out. How's that sound?
Well, yeah, I just think that somebody knew that this was in the works when the last contract was signed. It should have been brought forth at that time. You know, we don't budget for this. We've had multiple discussions on the subsidy.
Yeah, it was kind of on our agenda item for discussion only, and that's why we're glad you're here to talk about it.
Yeah.
Currently, there are only 2 counties that AMR provides services for. Is that correct? Alan?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Currently, there are only 2 counties, Cross and Buchanan County, that AMR provides ambulance service for in the state of Iowa.
Ground service, yes. Only 2 ground services in Iowa.
And so I assume that maybe Grundy County is probably getting on that same statewide network. Is that correct?
Our other county is Buchanan County.
Yes.
And that was done at the start of the contract.
But they did upgrade their radios at that time to get on that.
Yes. But we knew that going in.
Well, when was this contract that we're talking about, when was that signed?
2 years ago, 3 years ago.
I guess we didn't know about this 2 years ago. So what's your point?
Point is, we just renewed the contract in Floyd County and nothing was mentioned of this expense count.
What did you do in Buchanan County?
What?
What did you do in Buchanan County? As far as pages and radios?
That was in the initial contract when we started up. We put the radios in, the county provides all pages.
That might be a fair compromise.
I can tell you that the budget does not allow for this much money this year in the Charles City budget. I can tell you that.
Maybe we just better talk a little bit more about it and see what, see something that we can do. You know,
Can we see your budget?
I can get with the regional director and see what the contract allows, yeah. That would be, the regional director doing that, not myself. He was busy today, so I couldn't have him on with me. But we could set up a meeting to, meet with you and discuss it.
yeah, we'd be glad to do that. That's why it's here. The time is of the essence because this system is going to be going live soon, and obviously we want you to be part of it. And you know, it's kind of one of those. I guess it's kind of a hard thing to do because I was primarily involved with negotiating with you to establish a new contract after the one that we're currently under, and I know how hard that was, and you couldn't really give us any firm indication of any cost for a new contract. So I think there's some room to work this out, and hopefully we can do that.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, if you were sitting in my seat, you gotta understand the fact that how many months now have I been hearing, ever since I've been involved with it, that, hey, we're gonna start our own service. I ain't gonna spend $40,000 and then in October you say, well, we're gonna start our new service. That's just terrible business. I'll be my part if I did that.
Well, all I remember is I worked awful hard to get a new contract to keep AMR here. And actually, that was the question that was on the ballot this year. So I disagree a little bit with your belief that we're starting a new service. And I know
I just think you're right that I hear that a lot.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, it's been talked about a great deal. I agree. There's no doubt about that. Any further discussion? Anybody wants to bring up anything?
So we're going to get back to this in December then,
Well, sooner than that.
or sometime, I mean, yeah, I think this is open for compromise, perhaps. I will probably pay a private. Certainly open for compromise.
So you have my email, if you'd like to set, shoot out a couple different dates or something that we could get together and discuss it. I could bring my regional director in on also.
All right, here's a suggestion just for the board. How about if we appoint someone to just kind of get, because it'd be a little harder to do this in a board meeting, if we appoint someone to kind of work on this project. And get together with you, Eric, and your regional manager and Deputy Sheriff Bart's here and see what we can come up with. How does that sound?
That sounds fine.
Good.
Yeah, just reach out to me and we'll try to get
All
get
right.
something set up.
Excellent. We'll do that and we'll get back to you later today.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else before I jump off?
Anything else from anyone? Guess not. No, thanks.
Okay. You all have a good day.
All right, you too. Auditor Carr, you'd like to take this task? Pretty well versed in this. I'm on my way out the door.
Sure, I'll work with them.
Great. I'm gonna let that contract by Todd. All right. Good. All right. Item 9, Jason. Discussion regarding closing the courthouse for active threat training.
Oh, I've
Well,
heard-
since we've done one of those.
I've heard in the past that the last time you did kind of a full-scale active shooter training here at the courthouse, you closed it down for the morning session, and everybody that's talked to me about that has said that that was a very good training and they liked it, and obviously they've remembered it. And they wanted to do that again, so I've reached out to the person that did that initial training. He's not available anymore, but his partner that was here with him the last time does it and is willing to come back and do that next month. So we've tentatively set December 19th as the day that we'll do that, and the plan would be to close the courthouse from 8 to 11 in the morning. And then that would involve everybody, all the staff members assembling up in the district courtroom for a classroom type portion of that training. And then after that, in the afternoon, half of that group would meet down in the EOC and do more of a hands-on type training for a couple hours. And then at the end of that couple hours, then they'd switch out and the other half would come down and do that. So that would allow for the courthouse to open back up for the second half of the day at 11 o'clock. Business as usual from there on. So I guess we were just asking your opinion, approval, if you thought that that was an all right thing to do, and if it was, we'd go from there.
Did you have a date picked out for that?
December 12th, or 19th, I'm sorry.
December 19th.
Has there been any discussion with the heads and staff regarding the time?
I think you have had discussions with numerous department heads. I don't remember.
I did, and this date specifically came from Jeff Fox up in the clerk of court's office because it worked best for them and the availability of the district courtroom was good then. And as far as trials and legal stuff goes, that was one of the dates that just worked.
So I'll make the motion to approve the legal and action regarding the closing of the courthouse for active threat training on December 19th, 24, from 8 till 11 in the morning.
I'll say. All right, a motion has been made by Supervisor Kiefer and seconded by Campbell to close the courthouse on Thursday, December 19th from 8 to 11 for active threat training. The discussion. Jacob, we're going to your department?
Yeah, that works for us.
we're pretty flexible. We don't have construction right now, so. Oh, sorry, you're good. I didn't realize, are you all good? Okay.
I think so, pretty good.
Yeah, no, I was just asking you that, yes.
All right.
We're in the discussion phase, we haven't voted, so I just was saying, but it's been a while since that has been done, so I'm sure there's a lot of updates even from training that we received prior, previously, so. Sounds fine to me.
All right, thank you.
All right. Those in favor of setting Thursday, December 19th, from 8 to 11, to close the courthouse for active threat training. Say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Item 10, review action regarding Iowa Department of Transportation 2025 County 5-year program. We just approved this. Now, what's up here, Jacob? What's
Yes.
the resolution 1.1?
Yeah, we had made an amendment, a full amendments to the program, I think maybe 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago. That was to add in all of the grant projects from the RAISE grant that we were awarded this summer. We needed to add them for the state transportation infrastructure plan. Anything that has federal dollars in it, they need to be able to see that in that plan. So that was why we did that amendment. And then since then, DOT has changed the borrow ahead limits on our farm to market account. So normally we're able to borrow ahead 3 years of funding from that state account, which is for our farm to market road system. And they just voted to approve changing the borrow ahead limits to 4 years instead of 3. So we can borrow more money ahead basically. And that becomes official January 1 of 25. So shortly here in 6 weeks. So in the wake of that, I was looking at our program and what kind of flexibility we would have with that extra borrow ahead amount. And what I was able to come up with is what's proposed here today in this resolution, is the paving that we had already planned for on T26 south of Rudd, which is an HMA resurfacing project. It was planned to be funded locally in our budget and the secondary road budget. But with the extra funding in the farm to market account, I actually could move that into being funded from the state account, and then look at maybe funding a couple of other projects with our local budget. And basically we'd be able to add a couple of paving projects this summer. So there's basically 3 major changes. The first change being that T26 would change from local funding to farm to market funding. And then that would free up $1.4 million in our local budget that was programmed for that job. And then we can backfill that with paving B47 west of Rockford to the county line. That's a project that I think in 2020 we had attempted to let and received no bids on. So that road's been needing to be done for a long time. We just haven't actually got it out for bid and actually got a bid. So I think it's a good candidate to accelerate that from our program right now. It's in the 4th year of the program. So basically I'd be proposing to move that up and then fund it locally instead of with the state account. And then the third change would be to add an HMA resurfacing project for on T38, just south and north of the 110th Street Bridge there. We've had that bridge approach. There's approximately 1,200 feet on either side of the bridge that has concrete that's in very poor condition. And we'd be looking at doing a crack and seat type project where they actually crack the concrete in a uniform pattern, and then we can put asphalt over the top of it and then kind of clean that section up, because the road south and north of that section is asphalt. So it's hard to put a good project together when you have this little small stretch. So we'd be able to fund that locally as well. So that one would be actually getting completely added into the program. That was not in there previously. That was something I was going to look for to try to budget for this winter and do in the following construction year. But we could potentially get it done this coming summer and get it done a year ahead of time, which I think would be in benefit of traveling public in Floyd County. So I don't know if that's it's kind of long-winded. I don't know if you guys had any questions on any of it or if it makes sense, kind of what I'm proposing.
I'm pretty new at this, but
Yeah,
when you take this and the DOTs, they'll fund this. We originally were gonna fund it,
mhm.
and we don't have to pay for that.
Yeah, for T26, yeah, the state account will pay for it, basically. Yes, so it doesn't, so basically I manage I basically have three different funding sources, you could say. So the local secondary roads budget is what I work with you guys on, and that's what we kind of decide every year in the winter on what we're gonna spend on our road use tax money and our property tax money on. And then there's two other accounts that are both housed at the state, the farm and market account and the highway bridge program account. And those are all overseen by the state. And I have to follow all of their rules for when we want to let projects and do construction. And so we have I guess I should probably go back, the 5-year construction program is what I work with you guys on and then also work with the state on. And that lays out our plan for the next 5 years of what we are going to construct. And then we can plan ahead on what funding sources can do which projects and make sure we can fund the entire program, when the time comes. So I have to have, basically, if we want to change this program like we're doing with this change, I need approval from you guys and that you guys agree. And then also the state will make sure that they agree as well, which I spoke with the state last week and I don't think there will be any issues. I usually try to talk with them beforehand, make sure if there is a problem, I can get it fixed before I even bring it to you guys. So that way I'm not having to come back again, is the goal, So I can't say I'm 100% perfect on that, but that's the goal, so. Yeah.
Is there a reason instead of, that you don't just add like the B47 and the T38 to the borrowing part rather than swapping them like that? So is it because of the type of road they are?
The scheduling, so the big thing is the state's scheduling is, it's harder to get, those lettings would be pushed out later. So they have more of a process I have to follow, where if we do it locally, it's our schedule and we set, there's no plan turn in, there's no review, where the state's gonna review, the plans that are gonna come out of the farm market. So it's mostly a schedule issue. So if we do it this way, it kind of works out, in my opinion, in a better schedule. So, it's kind of abnormal to have this, to be able to add projects like this. I would say this is not a normal. I would say it almost would be more likely to have to push a project out because of lack of funding rather than having a situation where we could add projects. So, yeah. So then the other project we have that will be happening as well is the B60 cold place recycling, which is another asphalt project from Nashua to Highway 14. The city limits of Nashua to Highway 14. And that one is not affected by this change at all. So that will also be being constructed this summer as well. Then we'd have 4 paving projects basically, one of which being that on T38, that's a pretty short stretch, less than a half a mile. Yeah. And then you can see on there, those are our engineering estimates, are the dollar amounts on there. So I don't know if you guys had that in your package, but the T38 job we had estimated at about $250,000. T26 job we had estimated about $1.4 million, and then the B47 job we had estimated at about $1 million. So I guess the other thing I didn't talk about was being able to do the projects sooner. Is generally always better because these projects are only going to cost more later on. We've really seen that with the inflation that we faced in the last few years, and hopefully it can at least slow down a little bit. But the prices in 2022 had a dramatic increase. I know material prices were way up. So if we can build it now, it would really benefit us to do that. So.
Thanks for the explanation then. Sounds like it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Sure does. And so the resolution is in our packet is, let's see, where is that? There's just so much stuff in there yet, but I almost identified the page because it's all for long.
Last year.
Resolution.
Yeah,
It looks like
1.1.
If you want to make a motion.
Hard copy?
Yeah, I see it.
Thank goodness.
It is in your packet, let me find it.
Resolution 141, page 11.
Yeah, sorry, boy, we're doing this to you, your first meeting here, so hit the ground running.
Yeah, you're making me, trying me on this
There we go.
computer.
Here's a hard copy for you.
Yeah, I can tell you, it sounds good.
It's not, it's very bad.
So it'll be done in the same time period, just paid for it, different funds.
Yeah, basically, that project isn't really affected, just the funding. It's really the other two getting put in and getting done this summer instead of being later on. So that's the big difference. It's basically getting to do two projects that we weren't going to do. So we'll need to scramble and kind of make sure we have plans together, which is okay. That's
So
good.
T26 and B47 will be done the same year then?
Yes, yep. And that T38, that little stretch I was talking about, we'll do that as well. So we'll have four paving projects this summer. So all of a sudden there'll be a lot of paving going on.
And will we have to amend our budget as well?
No,
Or
with
the
me,
state's gonna pay for it
Yes.
without.
yeah, it will be all okay. So it won't affect our budget. So there won't be a budget amendment, which is good as well.
Because you're actually taking 1.4 million out of our budget
And then
and adding
putting
1.25,
So after the lettings, we can look at if I need to revise it, it'll handle it. I don't think we should, I think the estimates are pretty good, so. We'll see, I guess, when the bids come in. The good thing is we're gonna have a lot of asphalt work, so I'm hoping for some competitive bids, because there's gonna be a lot of tonnage in Floyd County this summer then, so I would imagine that will draw some interest.
So this resolution isn't in the normal format of our regular resolution. This is
State's resolution.
state's resolution. That's
Yeah.
what it came up from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually generate this. I have to put in the program what all the changes are, and then it actually generates this based on what I did in the program. And then it shows the new totals basically, and then I have to report back to the state that you guys approved, and then they will do their review. And like I said, I spoke with them last week, and there shouldn't be any issues. So.
All right, any further discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 1.1. Which is the Floyd County's 5-year program on secondary roads.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Campbell, seconded by Kiefer to approve the Iowa Department of Transportation resolution 1.1, amending the Floyd County's 5-year secondary road program. Carl, you call the roll for resolution.
Sure. Campbell,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Kewen.
State resolution 1.1 is approved.
Pass that back to Mark so he can sign it.
Okay. Item 10, review action regarding signing plans for pavement marking project.
So, I guess as Dennis and Mark have had to deal with these already, but we do pavement markings countywide, paint all our striping, every other year. It's kind of been the practice in Floyd County. So we didn't do them last year, so now we'll be doing them this coming year. So I don't know if you guys have any specific questions on that project. It's pretty cut and dry, you know, you just replace everything that we had before and they'll look good for a year and then they'll start to fade pretty quick. So there's no big updates right now. I will say the DOT is moving to a 6-inch pavement marking. Currently, most counties just use 4-inch pavement markings, so that'd be, you know, adding 50% width is what the DOT is doing, which also would add 50% in materials cost. I was not as, I think that it's maybe a nice safety feature, but I don't know if it is something that we should apply to our roadways. If we have enough traffic to justify that yet, I don't know. The state is requiring all of their projects to have it. They're not requiring it out of the local systems yet. But that is something that could come down the pipeline.
How much does that add to cost?
Well, so like right now, we're estimating 170,000, so I would close to 50%. I mean, it probably wouldn't be quite, but I mean, you're putting 50% more paint down, countywide, so I mean, that'd be a big increase.
Yeah.
Just for the paint, you know, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was close to $250,000 total then. It maybe be a little less, but, and we pay for this out of the farm to market account. That's how Floyd County's done it for a long time, and I've kept that practice as well. I think it's a good practice. But yeah, paint, it went way up. The last time, so paints, we'd always estimated $110,000. Had been pretty good for a while. And the last time we painted, I had the estimate at 110 or 120. It came back at 168. And I can't remember what part of the material that they couldn't get. There's these beads in the paint that make it reflective. I don't remember if it was those that they were having a hard time getting or the paint itself. And they went way high. Everybody, all the other counties I talked to had the same issue where the paint went way up. So we've moved the estimate way up, anticipating that. I've heard that they don't have the materials issues they did 2 years ago, but we'll see what we get for bids, I guess. That one is going to be let in February. Sorry, let in February. So that's part of the scheduling. So with the state, the letting isn't for 3 more months, but this is final plans. Turn them in. They're due tomorrow. So then we're done with it, and it goes through all their reviews, and then they advertise it, and then the bids will come in. So I think we had 5 or 6 bids on the paint last time, and they were fairly competitive. So, but everybody was up. So some of them were very high.
Make a motion, we approve the painting, marking.
A second? All right, been moved by Supervisor Campbell and seconded by Keeper to approve the pavement marking project, farm market, Floyd County, next year. Further discussion? Anyone listening on the phone make a comment? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. All right.
One more thing,
Yeah.
and we won't take time today, but I'll have to talk to you and you can explain all the funding, farmer market and all the other.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, just let me
You'll be
know.
familiar.
Let me know whenever you like, and we can just sit down in my office. I can kind of go over it. I can show you the 5-year program, so you can actually see all the projects that are planned. That will help, so you can kind of visualize it a little bit, I guess, Yeah, and then I have.
We find some time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you get settled in a little more, maybe.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, yes. Yes. I'll get you. So, no, sorry.
What else is going on in the secondary roads for
Yeah, so you're not done with me yet, almost here. So out at the maintenance staff are still working through drive permits and work orders. The road crew has finished the mowing for the season, the shoulder mowing. The blades have been out trying to get the roads ready for winter. It looks like, it's starting to cool off here. It looks like Wednesday, where I don't remember what the high was. It wasn't very great, and the low looked like it was 23 degrees or something like that. So I think we're gonna lose our nice fall weather that we've had. So we're trying to get ready for winter. They've been pulling shoulders up on the paved roads too, just to get the shoulders ready for winter as well. Bridge crew has been trying to finish up the bridge replacement project on Avon, just south of Norris Springs. They got the bridge tore out beginning of 2 weeks ago, and then last week they rolled down the railroad tank cars down into the hole that we're gonna be basically using as big pipe culverts. I was out there Friday afternoon, and they got both of the tanks are in a good spot. They're just starting to backfill with earth, and then they will, this morning they're gonna finish backfilling and try to get them covered up and try to get the road rock back on them here before we lose our weather. So there was one other bridge replacement we were gonna try to get done this year, but it looks like we're kind of run out of time. On 165th Street, just around the corner from Avon, south of Norris Springs there. That one's gonna have to be done in the spring. It was programmed for this fiscal year, so it's not the end of the world. We've had the tank cars sitting in the ditch for the summer because we were able to get them earlier this year. But they will be able to knock that out in the spring.
Or do you know how we do that with these railroad cars?
Yeah, it's a good process. So some of the bridges that aren't as long, we're able to kind of replace them with. We take old railroad tank cars, they cut the ends off of them, and we just roll them down into the hole, and then we can use them basically as a big pipe culvert.
How thick is that?
We always want at least a half-inch thickness because otherwise we're battling if they start rusting out on us. We'd like them to last.
So that works.
Yeah. They're amazing, really, and for what they cost, I mean, it's a great benefit to be able to do them. The hard thing to use them is you have to have a deep enough hole because they're 10 feet in diameter, so they're tall. So if you don't have enough space from the top of the bridge down into the creek, the flow line, then you can't really use them. So when we find a good location to use them, we try to. Just because of they're very beneficial in cost, and we usually only use them on gravel roads. I don't think we have any on paved roads that I'm aware of, but I can.
What do one of those cost?
They were this last round. They were $20,000 each, which we're doing 2 in each location. So we bought 4, and so $40,000 is a lot cheaper than a box culvert, a concrete box culvert, or a bridge. Obviously, would be a lot more than that. But these have minimal maintenance, so it's you just have to clean them out, in the spring. It's a really good plan. And Dusty, before we had started doing those, I think it's a good program. We should keep doing whatever we can. So so this one will get completed this year, and I don't know if you're familiar with Avon, but it's just south of Norris Springs. It's a gravel road south of there. I don't know if it's a half mile south of maybe a little further. Maybe it's a mile south of Norris Springs where this bridge is at. And then around the corner to the east is 165th, which is another gravel road. It's got another smaller bridge that we were able to replace these.
The first one that we've done. Have you done this before?
We did one since I've been here up on Victory Avenue. Was it Victory and 110th, or I can't remember, up in the northeast.
So obviously we're holding up semis full of grain and all that.
Yeah, yep. And there's been quite a few put in before. I know in the past, maybe when they first started doing them, because a lot of other counties do these as well. if you don't get enough thickness on the tank cars, they've had a tendency to start to squash, you know, and then you're losing your flow drainage area in your pipe because you don't have that top part anymore. And then you're also concerned on if they would fail, and that would be, you know, not good. Obviously, you have to close the road. So, but no, I think there's been good results.
So we inspect those pretty.
Yeah. So
Your engineering goes to that.
Yep.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to school at Iowa, so I'm kind of
Oh,
not.
we're fine.
Yep, not Iowa State. So. Yeah. So that project should wrap up pretty nice here this week, and then they'll be out of there. And then our bridge crew in the winter builds box culverts in a bridge shed, which I think we might be the only county that does that. And that's a process that actually was started by Lyle Arts, who was the engineer a couple before me, and it's a really good benefit for the county because we use those box culverts to replace pipes, all over the county, and we use a lot of pieces of those every year. So it's a great benefit to Floyd County. And then the shop wise, they're starting to get all the winter equipment on our equipment to prepare. I know last week there was snow in the 10-day forecast. Then it looked like they moved it out. I haven't looked at the 10-day this morning yet, but it's starting to look down. It's starting to look down. So we'll be ready. So maybe we'll get lucky again and not have snow until the end of December. Be okay with me. And then the sign crew finished up the sign inventory. So they went around and checked every sign we have, and then they make a list of what they're going to replace. We're looking at changing our sign software. There's a software we're currently paying for, but our service bureau actually has a sign program that we can use that doesn't have a fee. So we're going to look to switch to that and save some money there on that software. And then office-wise.
Do you mean making your own sign type, or there's
Oh, no, it's on the computer. So no, it's basically a management system for all of the signs. Because there's so many, you have to have like a pretty good inventory, and then keeping track of condition. So they go out and actually check retroflectivity, and then we need to replace after if they're in poor shape.
Which is kind of a maintenance software kind of thing, inventory.
Yep. Essentially, and then the sign crew works in it, and so then they're the ones updating the postings on what signs are good, what signs are bad. They can make lists on, hey, we want to replace these, and then they can spit out a map, and so they can look at, oh, I know we've got this area, northeast area of the county, we can replace all these signs, or something like that. They can plan their day that way, which is good. But then office-wise, I've been working through plans to kind of talk through all the projects, but the pavement marking plans, the B60 cold in place recycling plans. So obviously pavement marking plans are due tomorrow for final plans. That's what we just signed here today. And then B60, the cold in place recycling plans, those will be due for final plans in, I think, December 17th. So we will be coming back with those next month. So we've got, they were in for check plans already earlier this month, and I'll do my final review and really go thoroughly review all the quantities, and then we'll get those in front of you guys next month. The T38 Bridge Approach project that we kind of, just got going here. I think Jake's got the plans pretty much done. I just need to review them, and we will look to probably let those. I think we're gonna look at like a February letting for those and B47. I haven't completely ironed all that out yet. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And the B47 plans, we're just gonna start. We don't have those ready at all yet. So those are gonna be ones we need to kind of crank out a little bit over the next month and try to get those ready and in good shape to let this winter. Then Heartland Asphalt was in to do the finish patches on B60 and T26. I went out and drove all of those. I don't know if that was last week or 2 weeks ago, and I think they turned out pretty good. They did a nice job, and they'll make it through the winter for us. And then obviously we're paving both of those roads next year. So basically the process, generally what we do is when we know we're gonna pave a road, try to replace all the bad pipes on that road before we pave it. And then we can not have to tear out brand new pavement to replace pipes, basically. So that's kind of what we did this summer with B60 and T26. Tracy and I think, finished our FEMA documentation from the flooding in June. I submitted everything last week to FEMA. It sounds like I talked to our, the guy we've been working with through FEMA, and he said it's moving through pretty well. They had a strange question last week. They wanted to know when the roads were constructed. So I went back, that's why I was up in your office. I went and looked at when they were all constructed, all the roads that had damage. And they ranged from 1856 to 1880. I went back and found all the old minutes when they established the roads the first time. So it was kind of fun doing the research. I thought it was maybe a little overkill for FEMA, but we'll jump through the hoops if that's what they want us to do. So he was hopeful that maybe this week we'd be able to close things out. So then I'll be awaiting reimbursement. So, and then just our general office work. I don't think there's anything else out of the ordinary, so business as usual.
Peter, it just says at the university today, I'm sure you learned about the history of Iowa road use tax.
Unfortunately, we didn't know about that, and that's something that I think we learned some of it, but it was more of the immediate history of it, I guess, that there hadn't been an increase, and then they actually increased it when I was in college, and so we did talk about that, and that was quite an undertaking.
I was down there when we did that one.
Okay.
That was quite a deal.
Yeah.
There's this famous, actually it's a cartoon by Ding Darling. And Iowa's roads were mud. And this cartoon was literally given a lot of credit for changing Iowa's roads into creating the road use tax fund and providing the funding source to improve Iowa's road. He was a great cartoonist for the Des Moines Register.
Okay, I'll have to look that one up.
It's really,
I don't think I've seen that.
well, anyway, thank you for that roundup and information about all the projects you're working on. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. If there's I guess there's one thing I didn't write on there that I should share. So the notification of funding opportunity came out for the 2025 RAISE program, which is the same as the 2024 RAISE program that we got the award with last year. And our state association sponsors usually one application, and that was the one I initially tried to get involved with. We didn't make that cut, and then we ended up going on our own with Fayette and Bremer County. Well, I'm trying again to get in with the state. Our association's putting together a different application. It's a safety application, safety based, I guess. And they were looking for safety improvements on roadways that have had maybe underlying issues for different modes of transportation. And while I was reviewing our system and trying to decide if we had a project that could apply and would make sense in an application, I found Shadow Avenue south of Charles City. We've had, in the last 10 years, we've had multiple bicyclists have fatalities on that road. In 2016 and in 2011. Yeah. I think it was 2011. I know 2016 for sure, and I think the other one was 2011. So I put together a project where we would add paved shoulders to that road, which would be a safety benefit and edgeline rumble strips. I applied within our own association, and it looks like only 20 other counties put in for it. And I would think that they should be able to pick 10 projects to fund, and with that to go for the RAISE grant, because you're not guaranteed to win that award. It's just basically getting in a group together to go and try to write a nice narrative to try to win an award. So I think we have a compelling project, and I think it checks a lot of the boxes. So I will find out hopefully this week if we get selected in there, and then I might need to, I'm sure we'll have to come up with a 2080 agreement to work with other counties again. So I will keep you guys in the loop. Once I know that they were interested in using our project, then I will reach back out and make sure you guys are on board for going basically for another raise award. This project I estimated at like $2.1 million. So it'd be paved shoulders all the way from the city limits of Charles City south to the Butler County line. So 9 miles of paved shoulders. So it'd be quite a project for a safety award like that. And then add the rumble strips as well, which are not nearly as much of a cost as the pavement. I think it's a compelling narrative, and I think we'd have a really good shot at getting another grant award. And in their award notification, it specifically says previous awards do not affect future awards. So just because we got the raise last year does not mean we are not in the running to be able to get another one. So they are truly competitive and discretionary. So we could, be awarded as many times as we apply if we were that lucky. It definitely takes a lot of luck as well. So, but I think we have a great case. So I will keep you guys in the loop on that.
All right, thank you for that update.
Yeah.
That's
Shadow, T64, south of Charles City. Yep, to the Butler County line. So we will see on that one. I don't know that would be one we would go on our own without a group, because it's you can request up to 25 million. So requesting only 2 million, I don't know how much of as compelling it would be. So if we can get with a group, that would be great. So yeah. Well, thank you guys for your time.
All right, we're moving down to agenda item 15, which is a budget request for the upcoming fiscal year from Elder Bridge Agency on Aging. And we have a representative from Elder Bridge here.
Good morning,
Welcome.
Jody Applegate. I'm the Healthy Aging Director at Elder Bridge. So this is our annual report. Inside you'll find a sheet specific to your county. I don't want to stand behind the podium. Is that okay?
We'd just like you to hit the other.
Oh, am I okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I'm just not a podium gal. Did you need a copy?
Yes, please.
So our annual report again, and thanks for having me later on in the morning, because I couldn't have made it at 9:30, being on with another call. So, and my husband's a draftsman and designs bridges, so listening to what other counties are doing is kind of actually interesting. So annual report kind of does give you an overall view of everything Elder Bridge does, whereas that one pager just separates out Floyd County. So the majority of our services that Elder Bridge provides are congregate and home delivered meals. It's about half of our agency's budget is those meals. And so we still have Charles City Senior Center here that does congregate meals, and then Rockford does congregate and home delivered meals also. Other things we do non-evidence-based things with the Floyd County Healthcare, our public health, and then homemaker and personal care also through Floyd County Public Health. Services that we provide directly, so we have people can call into information and assistance and find out about how to get rent assistance, other services throughout our 29 counties also. And then if people need just a little bit more help, they can opt into options counseling, which just gives them a little bit of a short term. Kind of maybe somebody needs some help with a budget or some of those types of things, and just some short term. If they need something longer than 3 months, they can go into case management. And so then they'll have a case manager who works with them on basically life management as they need it. And so our population is those 60 and over. We do some with 59 and younger with disabilities. But the majority of our population is 60 and over. Our ask, so then the back page has our ask for FY26. Hard to believe that we're thinking about 26 already. But last year, I believe we asked for $3.15 a senior. This year we're asking for $3.20. And so just based on your population, data, but then it also shows too, for every dollar that the county funds have given us, Elder Bridge has done $10.44. So along with your county dollars that we use to help offset our match for federal dollars, we also do a lot of fundraising. We have a big fundraiser coming up in March. where we seek donations throughout our 29 counties. Then we have an online auction. So you might have to just check out the Elderbridge website for that. It's called March Madness. And that goes to help fund meals. So with those COVID dollars we got, we were told, you know, build up those programs, get all these people signed up. And guess what? We spent the money. The money's gone. We're back to now about those same dollars that we had prior to COVID, but we have more people. And so we don't want to, getting this county money helps us to not have to decrease services in other areas, so that we can continue with all of the services that we provide. Otherwise, we kind of have to juggle. The state allows us, the feds allow us to juggle, you know, around accounting, and I let finance do that portion of it. I just tell them how much I want to spend. We appreciate, you know, your guys' past help with us and to serve our, you know, 29 counties and those people specifically in Floyd. And we'll appreciate anything that you're able to give us for 26. Any questions? Really quick little spiel there. I'll let you read the book. I assume you can all read, so I don't want to read anything to you.
Regardless of Iowa's population declining overall, is our population above age 60 always going up?
I do believe so. I think what I see in the younger population is, and I have a 24-year-old and a 26-year-old, is they aren't developing the roots that you and I have. You know, we get into a place, we buy a home and we stay there, but I think our younger population is just easier to just pick up and leave. So I think we're just, you know, those younger kids just aren't sticking around. And so then just numbers wise, that just makes our older population greater, I think. Maybe not so much that we actually have more of them in numbers, it's just percentage wise. I don't know if that helps or not. I have an HR guy who's like, oh, it's easy for people just to pick up and leave and have 6 different jobs before they're 26. And I'm like, how, why? I don't know. I was not taught that way, I guess, but.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks for all the work that you do for all the Asian population in the county and all over Iowa.
Yeah, thank you. And Elderbridge, we really believe in this, in that, you know, the services that we do and to keep people in their homes. That's really our goal, is to keep people in their homes and safe as long as we can. So.
Upgrade reduce the employee.
Yeah, let's do that. You know the supervisor? We have.
No, I don't. I think last year I was like, okay, no, you guys looked familiar. I wasn't sure, but it's been a year, so.
This is our new supervisor, Boyd Campbell.
Nice, welcome.
Just started, got sworn in last week.
I was gonna say,
So very
okay,
good.
all right.
First
So-
meeting.
And feel free to reach out. Shelley Sint is our CEO. She's actually retiring the end of June. So we'll be in the process of finding a new CEO. But she's a great resource. If, you know, you have questions after you start reading that, Boyd there, to reach out to her. She's in the Spencer office.
Where's your office at?
So we have 4 offices. We have one in Mason City, Carroll, Fort Dodge, and then Spencer. So, and we have 29 counties, and I'm not sure if there's a map in there or not, but we basically, we're kind of right here on the east edge, and then clear over to Lyon County. And then there's a few that we don't have in that little dip of Iowa, but yeah, 29 counties, and most of them are to the west.
So the Rockford, are they struggling with?
They had some issues with a cook and finding a cook and keeping a cook. And so that was probably, I'd say, their biggest. Then when we had to look at our FY25 budget and what we had for money and how we were able to disperse that, we actually use a formula. So that we, prior years, and I've been in this job for now, this is year number 3. Basically counties or meal sites could ask us for money, and we had the money. We could say, yep, we can just give you this. And there really was no rhyme or reason as to how much. And so we had to, 2 years ago, we went to this formula based on number for meals that they served, give her a meal site manager. But there were some meal sites that when we were just giving them money ad hoc, we were paying $500 a month for their utilities, which in the scheme of things, when a meal site, a cook might come in at 8 o'clock in the morning and everybody's gone by like 2, it just seemed a lot of money. So we had to figure out how to be fair. And so then when we did that, we also then had to look at this last year that how many meal sites do we have in different counties? And those that we're required by the Older Americans Act to serve 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 1 meal a day. And so we looked at some of those where we have multiple meal sites and then kept one maybe 5 days a week and then took 1 to 3. Wright County happens to have 4 meal sites, so we divvied them all up. They're all only like 3 or 4 days a week, but we've covered that 5 days. So they, I think, have gotten a stable site manager / cook in there right now, and that things seem to be going okay. But
Didn't they write to the supervisors asking for additional funding?
they might have it. And the thing too is that we're not in competition with them for your money, you know, and that's, you know, I think we've had some who are like, hey, you know, you told us to write to them for money, and we did, and they refused us because they'd already been Elder Bridge. And that's why Elder Bridge is here asking, you know, looking at 26, you know, knowing that we're not looking at for right now immediate needs, it's long-term needs. So, and they'll use those funds to offset what Elder Bridge can't cover. And so when I had to do that, just to give you a general idea, a lot of our cooked meal sites are getting about $5, let's say, per meal served. And so they're having to really dig deep. And that's why we're encouraging them to use that building for other things, get people in there to do other activities. And sometimes we can find new blood in a meal site manager or even a, you know, someone in there in that senior center to kind of say, hey, let's do some more activities and draw people in, you know, to get them in the door. And sometimes people are like, oh, hey, what smells so good? Lunch smells really good. And then maybe they'll stay, you know, and some senior centers are trying to rebrand. You know, instead of being called a senior center, maybe the activity center or the community center, because some people have a stigma of, you know, they think that meal site is for the poor people and they don't want to go because they're not poor, you know, so it's kind of rebranding and rethinking through that.
Charles City did.
Yes, yep, you know, and Charles City, I know in itself is maybe having some struggles, meeting the needs of some people, because I know they don't have a Meals on Wheels program anymore. So that's something we've kind of broached with the senior center too, is, you know, have you thought about how you can do that, you know, and then it does become an issue with cost.
Do Meals on Wheels program?
Yeah, I mean, just because you're adding numbers.
Yeah.
You know, and then how do you get the to-go containers and the keeping it hot and drivers? It just brings a lot of different things in.
I think that was a loss.
Yeah.
To lose that program.
Yeah, and I think a couple other counties I know of are losing them too, so. Any other questions?
Thank you, Julie.
All right, thank you guys, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, Julie. All right, thanks.
Okay, moving back to item 13, the appointment of 2 members of the compensation board from the Board of Supervisors. About a month or so ago, we decided to continue with the current system, actually where people are appointed by elected officials, and they make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors on any salary increases. And so this board made that choice to continue with that. And so now we're at the point where we have to appoint 2 people to serve as our representatives. And one of those term ends in June 30th of 2026, and the other one ends in June 30th. We're the only elected officials that have two members. Go to this group compensation board. They'll be meeting shortly to make a recommendation back to the board about salary increases for all the elected. Doesn't get too complicated, but they changed a few things recently regarding that. Actually, the supervisors can reduce their percentage increase disproportionately to all the other ones. That was one change. A long while ago, but and then the rest of them you can only decrease by an equal percentage amount that the compensation board recommends to the board. They can be all over the place, the comp board recommendations, but that recommendation, once it's made to the supervisors, can only be by an equal percentage. And there might be another, I don't know if that's the latest. So.
Yeah, they don't have to do that the
Yeah.
same anymore. And then they have to show their work. They have to show their comparables to private sector, public sector, in-state, out-of-state. That's one of the new rules that, I mean, they've always had to do that, but now they have to show their work. And how they tagged it is show your work.
It's interesting, they'll come in, they'll come around, they usually have a couple meetings and so who will be representing, will you be on representing the auditor's office this last time or?
I still make that appointment because the appointments go retroactive to July 1st. If the board decides to reinstate, it's like the old one's gone away and now it starts from ground zero again, but it's retroactive to July 1st, 2020. So all of the other elected officials have appointed their people. Each one of the elected officials gets one appointee. And as soon as you guys make yours, they'll start making those calls to get that first meeting set up. So they got have staggered terms, and I put in your agenda packet the resolution that the Board of Supervisors approved in September, and to have all appointments made by this time. And so we're just following up with Board of Supervisors appointment. We do have there's a change, one change I thought was interesting. Mine is the same with Lisa Garden. County Sheriff is same with Troy Yeager. And the treasurer is the same with Jason Daniels. But the two that changed are Jim Davis is the county recorder's representative, and Kurt Herbertsmeyer is the county attorney's representative. New faces.
You can attend them. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Dennis will come in before anything. The county elected official will kind of explain their job duties and why they do it. So that's kind of the way it works. It filters down into all kinds of things. You know, not everything relates to that, but you'll soon figure out how this all has an impact on a lot of different salaries. And some salaries are not set by the comp board, but yet it's a record. Yeah. So anyway, we've got. Anyway, you talked to anyone regarding this appointment?
I did.
Okay.
Jerry Yeager said he would serve. Need your oath. And we need one more. We need one more.
Yes, yeah. The one person I visited with was a current member that was Slate. Caleb Slate. He served on it before.
And Cheryl Erb was the other one.
Since I'm a newbie,
Yeah, so,
Your turn is coming, so.
yeah, I meant, so. It's got two guys, gals. We have to pick a term for them.
Yeah, when I talked to Jerry, he would probably be more interested in the short term. Short term, one that expires in 26.
All right, I don't even think I mentioned that Caitlin. I didn't even know which one it was. I knew there was one shorter than the other, but I couldn't recall, so. He said he'd serve you away.
Caitlin and Jerry. You okay with that, Dwight?
Oh, and it's a really interesting process. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
see it all happens. And Concords recommendations are really quite interesting. They used to be kind of, they have some discussion. They have several amendments. Sometimes they don't get seconds. And makes an interesting story for Bob Ray.
I'm not on the compensation at the bank, but it's, I understand.
Anytime you talk about that, you know, and it's your worth, your value, you know, and that sort of thing. So.
And this because it's a public entity, bank doesn't get front page stories.
Right.
Yes, certainly. And then we need to pick one for the short through 26 and the other one through 28.
I'll make a motion to approve two Board of Supervisor representatives, Jerry Yeager and Caleb Schlater, to serve on the County Compensation Board. One for a term ending June 30, 2026, and one for a term ending June 30, 2028.
In which one are you doing?
Jerry Yeager for the term ending June 30, 2026. Caleb for the
I'll second that. All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Keelan to approve Kaylin Slater as one of the representatives of the Board of Supervisors, a term ending June 30th, 2026, and Jerry Yeager. No, this is that wrong. Yeah. Kaylin, Jerry Yeager for a term ending June 30th, 2026, and Kaylin Slater for a term that will end on June 30th, 2028. Further discussion? Any comment, anyone on listening on the phone line? And also we'll draft a letter to Cheryl and thank her for her service on the board. Those in favor of the motion say aye. 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 Motion's carried. Item 14, review action regarding appointments of former supervisor Jim Jorgensen. Look at all those things, boy. Look at that list. That's about two. You had a list? Oh,
I made
saw that. Yeah, that's a lot of boards.
I made you some hard copies in case you wanted to change
And,
others.
you know, sometimes they come up and we try to figure it out so they don't meet at the same time. You know, that, but then things happen because I've got early childhood meetings I really want to go to tonight because our executive director is retiring.
That's what I didn't put back.
And, but then I've got a NIACOG meeting that I want to go to as well. So what's the rule? When's the get together for Lori? Okay, so I'll be able to go to that at least and then go over to NIACOG. That over there. Okay. So, gyms are all noted. At this time, I think it would probably be best just to switch them out. I don't know how to do that now. I would see, because then when you get with Auditor Carr at the end of sometime in December, we'll have an agenda item where the three of you will kind of sit down and figure out who wants to be on me and I'll step out of it. Sounds easy.
And also, Boyd, I think Mark has too, willing to fill in, you know, somebody that can't make it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's by phone, sometimes it's in person.
And some you can do that, some you can't, like early childhood Iowa that Mark's talking about, there's no alternate, you can't appoint an alternate to that.
Kind of alternate. Filling in for somebody that can't attend. Is there a difference?
Yeah, the alternate would be able to go for that, represent that person there. Early childhood Iowa doesn't have that.
Most of them do have alternates. A lot of them do. And we have an interesting way to do it. We can't, the two of us can't attend one of those meetings.
Right.
And well, you can, in certain circumstances, if you notify in writing and post on the board that more than one member is gonna be there, but then that other member who's not the official member doesn't really partake in the discussion and can't vote, you're just there to kind of hear it. A little unusual, but it's happened. There's sometimes, I can remember a couple of times where we have had constituents who wanted us to go to those meetings, but then you get through that legally with the public information board if you make notice at a meeting prior to going and you post on the agenda that you're going to attend the meeting. There's a supervisor, but you don't partake in the deliberation. There's a lot of little rules and caveats about that one, but that's the way that they prefer to do it, and that's we've done it a couple of times.
And these are, frequency, like quarterly, the show rock board, they'll notify us when that is, or me, or.
Sure. A lot of them are once a month. The health board is quarterly. They'll let you know. Yeah, they'll let you know.
They're every other month. Every other month, not quarterly, but every other month.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And some of them like the emergency food and shelter program, they haven't met for years. Haven't met for years. It's based on when there's federal dollars that come to the local area.
Oh, really?
So this is a review and action item. We do need to appoint someone for replace Supervisor Jorgensen, so.
To replace Tim Jorgensen with Boyd Campbell on his commissions, boards and commissions.
I'll second that. So there's motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Kewen to appoint Supervisor Boyd Campbell to positions on boards and commissions currently served by Supervisor Jim Jorgens.
Are you okay if I list them, just so you've got something?
Sure.
Good in minutes.
911 board, alternate, Cedar Valley Transportation Board, liaison, Cedar Central Valley Juvenile Detention Center, County Conservation Commission, liaison, County Social Service Board, the alternate, Emergency Food and Shelter Program, Emergency Management Commission, Emergency Medical Services Advisory Council, the alternate, the Floyd Mitchell County Landfill, foster grandparents, North Iowa Regional Housing Authority, Shell Rock River Watershed Management Coalition, alternate. That's it. Did you vote? You voted, no?
What's that?
Did we vote?
No,
Just
You
listed,
haven't
okay, we
voted
just
yet.
listed.
Yeah.
All right. Further
You-
discussion.
Did you second it? You did second it, right?
Yeah, I did. Those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Future agenda. items. There's two ways that any member of the board can put something on the agenda. It's the responsibility of the chair to set the agenda with the auditor. These are all rules that were basically developed a couple of years ago, at least for this board. And, so that's kind of the only way it goes about it. Or we can bring them up and discuss them briefly. We don't discuss the content, but we just talk about an agenda item you'd like to have brought before the board's attention under this agenda item, and then put it on a future agenda. Or if, like, it's Monday and somebody comes up with an idea for something on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, and that person, it could be either the person who's not the chair, talk to the auditor, and the auditor would then talk to the chair, and it's just something went on the agenda, and, depending on what the chair thinks, then that's the other way. There'll be a lot of people that want things on the agenda, and not everything's ready to be on the agenda. Powers of the chair are important in that reason, because you don't want to talk about everything. Very true. Sometimes it's just not ready to talk about it. Sometimes it's not appropriate to talk about it. If the county resident thinks this should be on the agenda of the board of supervisors, really. Timely. So that's kind of it has worked pretty well. Yeah.
I do have a couple for you.
Yeah.
I was just on the phone, that's why I got down here late today, with Tyler Conley. He's ready to, present the tentative completion plan, completion report for the project, Drainage District 3. And then, so he would present it, and then you would set the date and time for that hearing 20 days out. So we can have that hearing in sometime in December. He will participate by phone next week if we can have that on the agenda. And then I would just ask for your consideration that you not have a meeting on December 2nd, just because we have a short week. For the 25th, we just have 3 days that week, and that much for the agenda.
Next one will be in December.
If the chair is willing to forego a meeting there. I just need to let Lexi know for.
Okay, any other future agenda?
And I will say, I think the advisory council is working on a recap of what worked and what didn't work with the EMS levy.
We are.
I think Keith Starr said they're Randy and on some things, and he's working on some things. I think Mark, you wanted to have something to recap on.
Yeah, sure, when they get something put together, we find the invite them over here and we'll what they have and talk a little more about it.
Yep, maybe this isn't the right time to bring this up, but, the way I seen on the expense that you had $40. Attending of the meeting at,
Yeah.
That's for the 4 of us.
Yeah.
You paid for that.
Yes, Mark said he wanted to go, and I went to go.
Someone, creating a report for that.
I think Mark's working on it.
Mark,
Yeah, I'll do that.
okay.
The 5th, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, item 17, adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer and seconded by Campbell to adjourn. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Lloyd, we were known from Jim came on last year for the first, we couldn't get, right into the budget and everything. We had some enormously long budget hearings. I mean, these things went in, they have, I think 6, 7 hours long.